My brother-in-law pulled me aside and whispered, "You'll never be good enough for my sister." When I laughed, he smiled darkly. "You won't be laughing when she chooses me over you." A week later, my wife packed a suitcase and said, "I need space." I smirked. "Check your bank account first." Moments later, he collapsed in shock. "My name's Daniel. I've been married to Mia for 5 years. We met in college in Austin, Texas. She was the calm to my chaos, and for a long time I thought we had something solid, steady, real. But Mia came with a brother, Mark. Mark was the kind of guy who acted like he owned the air in the room, always had a comment, always needed to one-up someone. If I said I got a promotion, he'd talk about how he almost became CEO at his last job. If I fixed a leaking faucet, he'd go on about remodeling an entire kitchen. Typical insecure guy energy, but worse. From the beginning, he had this weird attitude toward me. Not just cold, but competitive. Like he saw me as some rival. I thought I was just being paranoid. Then one night, we were all at a family barbecue at Mia's parents' place in San Antonio. He pulled me aside, beer in hand, and said it with the most smug look I've ever seen. "You'll never be good enough for my sister." I stared at him for a second. Then I laughed. Because honestly, that line sounded like something from a bad movie. But he didn't laugh. "You won't be laughing when she chooses me over you." That got under my skin. What the hell was that supposed to mean? He just walked away. Didn't explain. Didn't look back. And I wish I had taken it seriously right then. I really do. Because what happened next changed everything. Right after that barbecue, Mia changed. Not in a big, obvious way. More like little things at first. She'd stay out later. Started putting passwords on things that didn't have passwords before. She wouldn't talk to me like she used to. Always tired. Always busy. I tried to tell myself it was stress. She just switched departments at work. Maybe she was overwhelmed. But deep down, I knew something was off. Then one night, I caught her texting under the covers. Like a teenager. She didn't see me watching from the bathroom doorway. I didn't confront her. I waited. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I also don't regret it. I installed keylogger software on our shared laptop. Yeah, I know. Invasion of privacy. Sue me. A few days later, I checked the logs. My stomach turned. She was talking to Mark, her own brother. At first, I thought I misread something. The tone, the way they were messaging, it didn't sound like siblings. It wasn't sexual, but it was emotional. Deep. Flirty. Manipulative. He was telling her, "You deserve better. He doesn't see you. Not like I do." And she replied, "Sometimes I wonder what life would be like if I had you instead." I scrolled through message after message of him building her up by tearing me down. I had no idea how long it had been going on, but from the timestamps, it wasn't recent. It was months. He was feeding her pasun day after day, telling her I was cheating, that I didn't love her, that he'd always protect her. Let that sink in. My own brother-in-law was trying to replace me in his sister's life. I played dumb. Didn't say a word. I needed time. First thing I did? Moved all my money out of our joint account. Every dollar. I had a personal account Mia didn't know about. I used it for side gigs and freelance stuff. Transferred every cent. Next, I checked our credit cards. She'd been making weird purchases, transferring small amounts into an account labeled under a new business name. Guess who the business was registered to? Mark. He'd convinced her to slowly funnel money to him in case she needed to leave me suddenly. I took screenshots. Every transaction. Every message. Every late-night text that said, "He's not right for you," or "I'll always be your home." I didn't even cry. I just felt cold. Focused. And then? I started planning. We were supposed to go on a weekend trip to Dallas. Last minute, I told her I had work. She went anyway with Mark. I used that time to get a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. My best friend's wife is a family law attorney, and she is brutal. I gave her everything I had. We drafted divorce papers so airtight Mia could suffocate just reading them. But I wasn't done. I hired a private investigator. Not because I needed more proof, but because I wanted to know everything. Turns out, they weren't just messaging. They were meeting up. Alone. Multiple times. I got photos. Receipts. Logs. I wasn't even surprised anymore. Just ready. Exactly 1 week after the barbecue, Mia stood at the doorway with a suitcase. Her eyes were red. Like she'd been crying for hours. But her face was cold. Empty. "I need space," she said. I nodded. "Okay," I said. "Check your bank account first." She blinked. Pulled out her phone. Her hands started shaking. "Where's the money?" I didn't say a word. I just watched as the reality settled in. And then, Mark walked in. Right into the middle of it. And when he did, he saw her face, pale as paper. My face, calm and unreadable. The tension thick enough to choke someone. He opened his mouth to speak, but before he could, I tossed a manila folder onto the table. All the printouts. All the screenshots. Every shady bank transfer. Every message. Every lie. He froze. Mark reached for the folder with a trembling hand, flipped through a few pages, and then sat down. Hard. He didn't say anything. His mouth just hung open like his brain was trying to catch up. And then his phone buzzed. He pulled it out. Another message from his bank. Account frozen. His jaw moved like he wanted to scream but couldn't find words. I looked at Mia. She was still frozen in place, phone in her hand, breathing shallow. You didn't just cheat, I said. You stole. From our marriage. For him. She didn't deny it. Mark finally muttered something. You can't do this. I already did, I said. So there we were, my wife, her brother, and me all in the same room. Silent. Mia looked like she might pass out. Mark was hunched over the folder, flipping pages like if he kept reading, maybe the ending would change. It wouldn't. I walked into the kitchen, calmly poured myself a glass of water, and waited. I knew what was coming. You froze my accounts? Mark finally said, voice low. Yes. That's illegal. So is identity theft, I replied without turning around. Because here's the twist they didn't see coming. Mark had used my name on some of those transfers. Dumb enough to think no one checks transaction metadata. I had already filed a police report 3 days earlier. Had all the logs ready. I knew what was coming for him before he did. You're bluffing, he muttered. I opened a drawer. Pulled out the letter from the police department. Placed it on the counter. Not a word. Just the sound of paper sliding across wood. He read it. Twice. Then he slammed his fist down. You think this is justice? You ruined her. Your own wife. I turned and stared at him. You were trying to replace me, Mark. You talked to her like she was a girlfriend. You took her money. You used my name to set up bank accounts. You lied to both of us. He looked at Mia. Tell him you still want to leave. Tell him you love me. Mia's eyes filled with tears, but she said nothing. She just dropped her suitcase and sat on the floor like her strings had been cut. I didn't feel sorry for her. Not anymore. Later that night, after they both left, I got a call. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. 10 minutes later, my phone pinged. A video. From a burner email. It showed Mark. In a hotel room. With another woman. Not Mia. And in the background? Cash. Stacks of it. The timestamp was 2 weeks ago. So not only was he trying to destroy my marriage, he was scamming other women too. I stared at the screen stunned. Then I realized this wasn't just about love. This was about money. And power. I traced the email. Simple Gmail burner, but I knew what to do. I forwarded it to my lawyer and the private investigator. Asked them to dig. They did. 3 days later I had names. For women. All dating Mark at the same time. 2 of them had also loaned him money. One of them had pressed charges before he'd ghosted her when she asked for it back. Suddenly this wasn't a family issue. This was a pattern. A predator. When I told Mia's parents, they didn't believe me. Until I showed them the folder. Then the police report. Then the video. Her father turned pale. Her mother cried. They kicked Mark out of the family home that night. Changed the locks. Blocked his number. Mia stayed with a friend. I moved back into the house. My house. I paid for it. But the quiet was heavy. Unnatural. Like the place still held her voice. And then came the second twist. 3 days after Mark got kicked out, Mia came back. Unannounced. She looked different. Like she hadn't slept in days. Makeup smeared. Clothes wrinkled. Hair a mess. I need to talk, she said. I let her in. Sat across from her, arms folded. I didn't know, she said quietly. Didn't know what? About the other women. About the money. About him using your name. I swear. I wanted to believe her. Part of me did. But before I could say anything, she said something that nearly knocked me over. I think I'm pregnant. I stared at her. She didn't cry. Didn't look away. Just let those words hang in the air. It's his. I don't know. That was it. That one sentence tore down whatever was left standing between us. Then get a test, I said. She nodded. Didn't fight. Didn't ask to stay. Just stood up and walked out. That night, I sat alone in the house, watching old videos on my phone. Mia laughing in the kitchen. Mark cheering at some sports game, drink in hand. Me. In the middle of both. And all I could think was, how long had this been fake? That was the real betrayal. Not just the messages. Not just the money. But the time. The years. The trust. I thought I had hit the bottom. But I was wrong. Because the next day, Mark tried to sue me. So, yeah, he tried to sue me. Let that sink in. Mark, my brother-in-law, who had tried to steal my wife, my money, and my life, thought he could drag me into court. What for? Defamation. Yep. According to his lawyer, a sketchy dude who literally ran ads on Craigslist, I had intentionally damaged his reputation by sharing private messages and leaking personal material to his employers and friends. Except, I hadn't. Yet. All I'd done was report the fraudulent banking activity tied to my own name. I hadn't said a single word to anyone outside the family and the police. But Mark? He thought striking first would scare me. He thought wrong. What Mark didn't know was that I already had a real lawyer, a good one, and she had been building a case of her own. The thing about people like Mark is they leave trails. He left so many emails. Voice notes. Bank records. One of the other women he'd scammed came forward when she found out he'd tried to sue me. Turns out she still had the iPhone he'd given her. And guess what was on it? A full voice recording of him bragging. I could take Daniel's whole life if I wanted. Mia's already halfway gone. All it takes is one night and one lie. Clear voice. His face in the selfie video. Same room from the hotel video. We submitted it into evidence. Mark never saw it coming. What really broke everything open was something even I didn't expect. A second pregnancy test. Not from Mia. From one of the other women. She called my lawyer's office in tears, wanting to make a statement. Not because she wanted revenge, but because she wanted to make sure I wasn't the father. She said Mark told her I was cool with it, that we were business partners and shared everything. Let that sink in. He used my name again. Told her we were co-parenting friends. Made it sound like I agreed to be the father figure for a baby that wasn't even Mia's. This guy was deranged. I sent the video and screenshots to Mia. No message. No context. Just the truth. 10 minutes later, she showed up at my door. No makeup. No fake tears. Just hollow eyes. I got the results back. And it's not Mark's. I stared at her. Waited. It's yours. I didn't speak. I didn't blink. She sat down, looked at the floor. I didn't think it would matter. I didn't think you'd still be here. And here came the twist I wasn't ready for. I went to the police too, she whispered. I told them everything. About the money. About Mark. About the emotional stuff. He tried to get me to lie. To say you hit me. I didn't. She slid over a printed email. Mark's email. It said, if you say he hurt you, we can make sure he loses everything. I can take care of you. Just tell them he snapped. Say he hit you. It'll be quick. She didn't send it. But she didn't block him either. And in that moment I realized, Mia was just another pawn. Not innocent. But not in control either. He disappeared. Like, vanished. Didn't show up to court. Didn't reply to his lawyer. Nothing. We all assumed he ran. Until a week later, I got a call from Mia's mom. He's in the hospital. Mark had taken something. Pills. They said it was an accident, but I didn't buy it. Turns out, right before that, he'd been fired. One of the other women found out about the fake accounts and went public. Posted the videos. The screenshots. Tagged his workplace. They let him go instantly. He had no job. No home. No money. No allies. His parents refused to visit. Mia didn't answer his texts. The women blocked him. The court dismissed his claim. Police were still investigating the fraud and identity theft. And for the first time ever, Mark had no one to manipulate. But I didn't. Not pity. Not anger. Just relief. And even that felt weird. Because now Mia was pregnant. With my child. And somehow I was supposed to deal with that in the middle of all this chaos. And then came the next message. A Facebook DM. From someone I didn't recognize. She said, hi. I think I'm Mark's ex. He said you'd know who I was. He told me if anything ever happened to him, I should tell you where the money is. What the hell? So, the message. Hi. I think I'm Mark's ex. He said you'd know who I was. He told me if anything ever happened to him, I should tell you where the money is. I didn't reply right away. I was sitting in the living room, still holding my phone, when Mia walked in. She froze. What's wrong? I handed her the phone. She read it, then looked at me. Did you know he had more money? No, I said. But I believe it. Mark always had expensive watches. Nice clothes. Cars he couldn't explain. He said they were business perks, but he never had a real job longer than 6 months. I texted the woman back. She gave me an address in a rural part of town, a small storage facility on the outskirts of New Braunfels. She even had the code. I took Mia with me. I don't know why. Maybe I needed her to see the rest of what her brother had become. We pulled up to Unit 37. It looked normal from the outside. Metal door. Dusty lockbox. I typed in the code. The lock clicked. And what was inside? Not cash. Not gold. Hard drives. Cameras. Notebooks. And photos. Of people. Of women. Oh my God, Mia whispered. It wasn't just us. Mark had been watching people. Recording them. Some of the names matched the women who came forward. Others we didn't recognize. He was blackmailing them, I said quietly. There were even audio files. Edited. Spliced to sound worse than they were. Fake proof of abuse. Fake confessions. Some that could have ruined lives. He was building kits ready to launch full character assassinations on people who got in his way. Including me. I handed it all over to the police. They opened a criminal case. A week later, I was served again. But this time as a witness. The DA wanted to talk. Mark had officially been charged with wire fraud, identity theft, possession of illicit surveillance, attempted extortion. Mia was called to testify too. But something broke in her. She showed up to my place one night before the first hearing. I can't do it, she said, crying. I can't testify. He's still my brother. And that's when I finally snapped. He tried to ruin you, Mia. He tried to make you lie about me hitting you. He put your baby in danger. You think he wouldn't do it again? I know, she sobbed. But I can't sit there and talk about him like he's a monster. Then stop pretending he isn't. I've never yelled at her before. She collapsed into a chair and just cried. For the first time, I think she really saw who he was. Not the big brother. Not the protector. But the manipulator. The abuser. The liar. It got messy. Public. One of the blackmail victims was a school teacher. Another was a nurse. A third was someone I didn't even know. An older woman, maybe 50, who came forward anonymously at first. The judge ordered psychiatric evaluation. Mark failed it. His lawyer quit midway through pretrial. The court gave him a public defender. The entire time, Mark wouldn't look at me. But during one session, they played a voice recording. One I hadn't heard before. Daniel thinks he's so smart. He thinks he won. But wait till Mia picks me. She always did. She always will. He laughed in the audio. It's only a matter of time. Everyone in the courtroom was silent. Mia walked out mid-session. She didn't return. Mark took a plea deal. He's in prison now. 4 years minimum with probation afterward. He still sends letters to Mia. She doesn't open them. I kept mine. Not because I care what he says, but because I want to remember. A healthy baby girl. I was in the room. Yes, the baby's mine. Yes, I signed the birth certificate. No, we're not together. Mia lives in her own apartment now. She's doing therapy. She finally blocked Mark's number and email. We talk often. We co-parent. It's complicated, but it's honest now. There are no secrets. Before Mark went to prison, I visited him once. He was in an orange jumpsuit. Shackled. He smirked when he saw me. She chose you, he said. But she'll always remember me. I leaned in. Good. Let her remember. Let her remember what she almost became. I stood up. You didn't just lose her. You lost everyone. Your family. Your name. Your power. He said nothing. Just stared. That was the last time I saw him. Sometimes people break. But Mark? He chose this. Every lie. Every betrayal. He didn't just step over the line, he burned the whole thing behind him. Mia made mistakes. Huge ones. But she didn't destroy people. He did. I'm not sure I'll ever forgive her completely. And she's okay with that. She said so herself, if you can't forgive me, at least let me earn peace. She's doing that. And me? I'm raising a daughter now. And one day, when she's old enough, I'll tell her this story. Not because I want her to know the pain, but because I want her to see what strength looks like. Not rage. Not revenge. Truth. Because truth? That's what brought everything down. Sometimes revenge doesn't look like fire and destruction. Sometimes it looks like a courtroom, a quiet apartment, a healthy baby, and a man who finally gets to sleep at night.